Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for tuning back into the channel. Much appreciated. And today we're going to have a little bit of a conversation, sort of a topic off the wall a little bit from tips and lure modifications and that is what has happened to Ranger boats as far as their presence in the tournaments go. And I've been wanting to do this a little bit because I've noticed, the last, year or so like that, it's just the dramatic decrease of the amount of Ranger boats that you see at the tournaments. And sort of interested to have a discussion about this and sort of get everybody else's feedback on it. What's your guys' opinion about this too? To sort of see what's going on, because in the past they've had such a major impact on the sport. And as everybody I left my partnership with Ranger Boats. I'd been with Ranger Boats for 35 years. And this past summer, long story that I don't really want to go into, but Ranger had some changes. Bass Pro bought them out, and I decided to leave the company and pursue an opportunity I had with Skeeter Boats, which I've never been more happy in my life. Absolutely love the boat. I love the people at the company to work with. Love working with all the people at Skeeter and Boat Works here in Springfield, Missouri. That's a Skeeter dealer. So from my standpoint, it's just been a great move for me. But I really wanted to go back and give you guys a little bit of history about it, sort of tell you my opinion a little bit, where it's at, and sort of want to get your opinion. Ranger goes way back with me. Back when in 1984, I qualified for the it's now called the BFL All-American. It was the Redman All-American back then. And going into that tournament, I had a little junky champion boat, a Mean 15, beat up Mean 15 champion, and qualified for the All-American. And after I qualified for that All-American, I had an opportunity to go into Ranger boats. So I had what was called a delayed bill, which is basically Ranger lets you use a boat for a year without paying for it, and then you have to pay them back at the end of that year after you sell it. And did that on my first year on the Bassmaster circuit. And about midway on my first rookie season of Bassmaster, and this was been in the spring of 1986, I got a phone call from Forrest and Nina Wood. And you can imagine me getting a phone call from Forrest and Nina Wood, and they were saying, "Hey Randy, we just been following you a little bit, seeing you're doing good in the tournaments, and we would like to know if you'd be interested in becoming sponsored by Ranger, and we'll take care of your Bassmaster entry fees and your megabucks and that type of stuff, put you on the pro staff." And I was just ecstatic about it. I mean, you can imagine, 22 years old, having my first real sponsorship with Ranger Boats. And this went on for several years. And it was like being sponsored by Grandma and Grandpa. I'd go down there, to Flippin, Arkansas, down at the Ranger plant. I'd hang out with Forrest and Nina. Got to go in Forrest's office and talk with him. And, Nina would share stories about, she bowled in the bowling league, and I was a big time bowler too. So we talk about bowling all the time. And it was just a great relationship. And everything started to change a little bit. In the early 90s, Forrest and Nina sold the company for the first time. Went to Irwin Jacobs, who started the FLW Tour. And that started a change with Ranger, as far as it wasn't Forrest and Nine anymore. It wasn't the down home Ranger. It started to get a different vibe to it a little bit. And Ranger at that point, their influence really took off, because Ranger was a sponsor of the FLW Tour, and they had to deal what was called team boats. So there was a lot of guys that were sponsored by Ranger through FLW, and Ranger made a huge impact. And at the tournaments, at the FLW tournaments, it was completely dominated by Ranger. I mean, it was like 80% of the field was Ranger boats that you saw out there. And over the course of years, things started changing a little bit. The FLW started going downhill a little bit, when Walmart started pulling back, the team deals started going down, everything started changing a little bit with that. And Ranger sold a couple more times to that, and every single time they sold, they got a little bit further away from the thing that attracted me to Ranger to begin with, which was Forest and Nine of Wood, the down home Ranger, we build them one at a time deal down in Flippin, Arkansas. The company started changing, and I get that. I mean, things change. But what has happened, and we'll fast forward a little bit now to last year, is when Bass Pro Shops acquired Ranger Boats, everything changed with it. If you look, myself and a large percentage of the pros that have been with Ranger forever, I'm talking about guys like, Bernie Schultz and Takahiro Mori and Jason Christie, and I could just go down the line. They are no longer with Ranger, and they've been with Ranger forever. And, and as a result, the last year, Rangers have basically disappeared from the scene on professional fishing. The only guys that I'm seeing, there's a handful of guys that are still tour level pros that stayed with the company that you see them out there. Not very many, there's just a handful. But the biggest thing that I've noticed at the tournaments is you just don't see any Ranger boats out there in the tournaments anymore. There's a few of them out there, mainly, like on the Bassmaster Opens and the Toyota Series. They're guys that are fishing out of boats that are 8 or 10 years old, Rangers. But you just don't see any of the new Rangers, wrapped Rangers, that type of stuff. They've just gone by the wayside. And you see now just a good mix of everything but Rangers out there. Skeeter's making a big, push. Phoenix Boats is making a big push. Bass Cat, Camus, a lot of the aluminum boat lines. There's a lot of different companies out there, and it's really odd to see that because I was so used to Ranger just dominating the tournament scene for so many years. So my opinion on it, I was going to give you my opinion, and I'd love to get your guys' opinion on it, is what happens in these companies when companies sell and companies are bought out or things happen within the company. You have changes in the marketing division of the company. I understand the marketing company because I've worked in the marketing. I've worked for marketing in several companies to help their marketing, so I understand how it works. But what you have is when these marketing positions switch over, you may have one person that had one agenda in the past, and when somebody else takes over, they have a completely different agenda. One of the things that I found out in the fishing industry, and I'm not pointing this comment towards Ranger or any company specifically, but one of the things I've noticed about in the fishing industry is a lot of companies tend to hire people in the marketing division that really don't know much about fishing. They don't understand much about the traditions of fishing or much about the history of fishing or much about the reputation of the people that came before them. And to me, this is a sad thing about fishing because if you got some 26-year-old kid that just got out of college and has been hired by a fishing company in the marketing department that doesn't know anything about fishing, they don't really understand the value of certain anglers. They don't understand how many sales that those anglers have made for the company over decades. That sort of gets washed out the window. They have a specific agenda. They're bean counters, a lot of them. It's all about numbers, and that individualistic personal impressions that certain people pros that work for the company are not taken in consideration. And I've seen this over and over and over again. And I've never seen it really work out very well for those companies that do that. Most every company that I've seen that has some type of a sustainability and success ratio, they have people within that marketing division that work for them that are anglers. They're anglers that understand tradition and history and the value that certain people bring to certain demographics, because every pro out there has something to offer, their own demographic, and they have abilities unique to themselves to draw in potential customers. So, I'm not going to sit here and speculate on Ranger's motives to do that, but obviously, when Ranger bought out, or when Bass Pro bought out Ranger Boats, there was obviously a tremendous switch in the marketing push that they had for the last 50 years with the company. You can see that by so many of the top pros that were with Ranger forever no longer with the company. And I'd be curious to see everybody's opinion on this. I mean, a lot of people that watch this channel, they're really into the sport, into the industry, and they're sort of in the know with that. Let me know what you guys think about this. I mean, let me know what you guys think about the fact of Ranger not having the influence they have now, and if it was a good move or it's not, or what the deal was. But I just wanted to do a quick video on that because, you know, it's something that you just can't deny. I mean, I see these top pros that have been with Ranger for decades and decades. They're always popping up into new boats now. I mean, every week I see somebody that has been with Ranger forever in another boat company now. And, you know, I don't think you can just sweep that under the cover. You know, back 15 or 20 years ago, when a marquee top pro made a switch in boats, it was big news, man. It was all over every social media, bass fan, whatever. And now you don't hear anything about it. I just see pictures of these guys that have been with Ranger forever. They're all of a sudden in another boat. And I just find that, you know, extremely odd compared to the way it was in the past. But anyway, Bass Pro Shops, they bought out Ranger. They have every right in the world to, you know, it's their business, you know, if they want to, however they want to run it, is completely their right to do that. They're not obligated. They don't know anybody anything. But I just find it strikingly amazing the fact that there's just such a complete absence of Ranger boats in these tournaments I've been fishing compared to what they were in the past. And anyway, curious to hear you guys' opinion. Let me know, shoot me some comments here, get a conversation going, and we'll have a little discussion on this. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing good, and we'll talk soon.